Hey, it's David here from Freedom Founders. There's an old saying that you can't maximize what you don't measure. And that holds true in all parts of our lives. In anything we're trying to do, most of the time we think about measuring things in terms of a business or financial reporting. That's certainly part of it. But gosh, you can measure things in personal life, time management, weight loss, diet, nutrition, time spent with kids. I mean, there's just a host of things that if we learn how to measure, we can get closer to the goal we're looking for. So that comes down to what my topic today is about: KPIs, key performance indicators. I could spend hours on this topic, but I'm going to just give you a brief overview because I'd like you to take what I talk about today and then you do a deeper dive to see how they can help you. So KPIs, let's look probably today at more or less business. I talk to a lot of small business owners, professional practice owners, a lot of dentists and chiropractors, veterinarians, MDs, and they're in business. They're trying to get certain things done in their business. Every business has different strategies, different goals, depends upon the maturity of the business, the age of the business, what the business owner is trying to gain. So I can't give you, your set of KPIs or metrics you should measure. It's something you have to develop strategically as a team. But there's good books on the topic. Verne Harnish, Scaling Up, is a great book that talks about measurement and growth in a business. Maybe grab that book. But here's some things to think about. There's 4 categories in most businesses that need to be measured under which you can have different KPIs. One certainly is the financial or the revenue numbers of a business. That's typically what people measure. And then there's the second one. There's going to be customers, the type of customers, the number of customers, the transaction value of customers, lots of different pieces on customers. There's the processes. What do you use in processing your deliverables in all things that you do? Efficiency of processes to certain goals. So KPIs on processes is very important. And the fourth one is on your people, your human capital. That is, your employees. So those are the 4 categories. Again, I'll give those to you again. It would be revenue or financials. It would be customers. Another one would be your lost it for a second, your processes. And then finally, your own human capital, human resources, your people. Underneath those categories, you can have specific KPIs. Now, with KPIs, they need to be measurable, quantifiable. They need to be understandable. They need to be actually measuring what you're trying to achieve in those different categories. And you should always have some kind of a dashboard. Spreadsheets work well for this, but a dashboard where you're tracking these specific KPIs that you've developed on a regular basis, at least weekly. Some things can be measured even daily to keep track, but at least weekly. And use color coding. So green means you're hitting your numbers. In fact, we use in our Freedom Founders, we use a separate color for super hitting our number, and that's a blue number. So blue is like we're way exceeded our KPI for that measurement. Green means yes, you're good. Yellow means caution. We're somewhere in the middle there. We're not hitting it. We're not terrible, but we've got to put some emphasis there. And then red is simply didn't meet expectations on that KPI. Now, there's 2 different types of KPIs, 2 categories besides the 4 I gave you. And that would be, there are what we call leading indicators or leading measurements that would be predictive of what's going to happen in the future by measuring certain behaviors, certain numbers on a regular basis as they're going, so we can kind of see if we're not getting a certain number of clients or customers or patients in the door, if we're not hitting a certain conversion of treatment plan to actual scheduled treatment, if we're not hitting collections on a regular basis, if our numbers are being marginalized too much by insurance companies. In other words, our net production percent is going down because we're having to discount our pricing. So those would be some particular leading indicators that can help you predict that if you're off track in those cases, you don't have to wait until you get the lagging indicators, which are more the reporting side. In other words, measuring how we actually did. Based on our goals. So leading means it's predicting where we're going or how we're tracking. And if you measure the right ones, you can see that you're starting to go off course on a certain direction. You can get back on course and not have to wait till the quarter's over, for example, and have your typical CPA give you your profit and loss and show you your balance sheet, and then look back and go, yeah, but now it's too late to fix. We could have fixed something 2 months ago and made a big difference. So leading and lagging indicators, very, very important. Last thing I'll say about KPIs is that there needs to be ownership. Every KPI that you use in your business for tracking, measuring, reporting, somebody needs to own that KPI. Now, that somebody doesn't mean that they have to do it all or be fully responsible for it in total, but they're responsible for reporting it. And if there's something going awry, then they need to let the team know so that whoever else is responsible for helping with that KPI can jump in. The whole idea here is to get the team involved and not pointing fingers, but being predictive and being interactive and iterate when necessary to make the movements on those KPIs. Again, you can't maximize what you don't measure. So formulating and determining the specific KPIs that you need to use for your business based on what your business goals are, where you're headed, what you're trying to do is key to everything you're doing. You cannot effectively run a business without good KPIs, and the KPIs need to be challenged and looked at on a regular basis. They're not static. They can move as your company moves. They can move as you need to change direction. So keep this in mind. Do some more study on KPIs. It's a big leverage or inflection point that you can use if you're not using them effectively right now in your own business. Remember, always stay focused on your freedom. I'll see you next time.